welcome everyone. I'm really excited that you are joining us for our webinar tonight on parenting. This is Dr. Ken Resnick, and this is me. I'm Zoe Glickman. I'm a body talk practitioner, and yeah, I have done Ken's program, and it was quite amazing how much he actually really, I put it lightly, but he really saved us in terms of helping our child. So thank you for that. And yeah, what I really absolutely love about Ken's course is I feel it gets to the core of the issues that so many of us are experiencing. And as I find in body talk, what I love most about body talk is body talk also gets to the root cause of a problem. So for example, if you're having backache or acid reflux or any physical symptoms, we're so used to asking the how, or how do I get rid of this, or what do I do, or where do I go? And there obviously is a place for that, because you can go to the physio, you can go and get your medicine, and you're treating really just the symptoms. You're not getting to the root cause of the issue. And what I love about body talk is because it asks the why. It's, well, why is your backache there in the first place? Or why are you feeling this acid reflux? What's going on? And when you ask that why, you actually get a lot of value and a lot of answers and a lot of self-growth and a lot of insights. And with doing Ken's workshop, that's what I found. We're so busy focused on the why we were having issues with our kids, or why things weren't working. On the how. Well, how do we solve it, or where do we solve it, or where are we going to go, and where are we going to turn to? That we've just got lost in the details of all of that, really. And I think what Ken answered for me personally was, well, why are we having these issues in the first place? And not only did he answer them, he also gave us amazing practical tools to work through the issues we're having. And it wasn't like weeks or days or months before we started seeing results. It was literally overnight. So with that, I'm going to introduce you to Dr. Ken, and also just a bit of housekeeping. So at the end of our webinar, we're going to leave some time for some questions and answers. So you're welcome to ask any questions. You can raise your hand if you want to come live and answer us, or you could just ask us the questions in the comment section. Also, we might get logged off because there is a 45 time limit on Zoom. So if you do, just use the same link to log back into the session. And I think that was it.
Good. Okay.
Okay, great.
Thank you, Sari. Good evening, everybody, and thanks. Sari said thanks very much for taking the time out. I'm sure that you're all aware there's quite a big crisis worldwide. COVID's caused havoc. And the bigger problem, of course, is that I think families have taken a huge amount of strain in terms of the pressures, having kids at home full time, driving you mad, etc., and we're carrying on doing the same old thing. And this is what I'm really concerned about. In other words, there are more and more kids that are being assessed, more and more kids in therapy, remedial classes are getting bigger, and nobody's stopping to think. And what's really concerning is that in the training of all professionals, there is nothing on parenting. And it's sort of like it's been sidelined. And I like to use an example. If you take the Khoisan are parenting like our ancestors parented. In other words, they take their kids out into that hostile environment at a young age, equip them with the skills to handle everything, handle the environment, handle the dangers, learn to build shelters, learn to make fires, learn to protect themselves. This is how parenting used to be. It was instinctive. Something's changed. And part of it is that we've got too clever. Man's got a brain. It's a rational brain, and parenting is not rational. That's the biggest problem. It's an irrational activity. In other words, we love our children, we give them what they like, we want them to be happy, and they're miserable. It doesn't make sense, because it's all about helping them take on life. So we really need to stop moving in the direction that we're doing. There's got to be an alternative. And I believe that once parents are given the tools, and certainly from the results of this program, there's definitely change. We can't carry on doing the same thing, putting pressure on so many teachers, expecting miracles at school, and yet all we're doing is labeling kids. I had a situation where mom told me the other day, they spent about 60,000 Rand, child 6 years old, and this play therapist told the mom that the kid has got entitled child syndrome. Now, what is that? It's another label. It's just crazy stuff what's going on out there, because they don't know what they're doing, and nobody's big enough to say, we actually don't know. And I think the bigger problem is that the professionals themselves, when asked what parents need to do, are giving them a whole lot of different answers. As a matter of fact, they're diagnosing 5-year-olds with depression. How can a 5-year-old be depressed? And then they're telling the parents that it's genetic.
Yeah.
So, so it's just crazy stuff. So basically what we've got to do is get down to basics. I think the thing is that to try and understand what is our role. In other words, children are born facing life. They can't wait to get out there. They've got energy, they run, they're curious, they want to live. I mean, they can't wait to live. Kids, they don't walk, they run, most of them, because they're excited, they ask questions. They're born with passion. They're born with a sense of curiosity. They're born with the ability to persevere, to play on their own, to achieve. What is going wrong? One of the reasons is they cannot bring themselves up. They totally depend on an adult to help them grow and be somebody. We've all got the potential to be someone. And I think the reason why none of us achieve our potential is because we brought up our parents who only tried their best, but they're not prepared to tell us. Yeah.
That's like the one, the how and why, I guess.
Yeah.
I was trying to say.
That's right. So this whole idea is, what is all this about? But you've got to understand that a child is someone that wants to become someone. They're born wanting to take on life. They're born wanting to get out there. What is going wrong? Child can only become an adult with the help of an adult. They cannot bring themselves up. Yet that important role has been ignored because you shifted, totally ignored now.
Yeah, that's when I was going through all the art. My child, no one once told me like what's going on home or what's going on with your parenting, like nothing. It was just always outside sources. Well, how do we fix this? How do we fix this? How do we fix this? With all sorts of different therapies, but it was never, well, why? No one stopped to even think about the why. Yeah. I think that's what's missing.
Yeah, and I think
that's the parents' role.
Yeah, so what we've got to understand that we've got to equip kids to take on life. It's a jungle out there. It's worse than the animal jungle, as a matter of fact. And we're protecting them. We're stopping them from going out there. We've got this new, what do they call this new sort of parenting? Compassionate parenting, where it's all about the child's feelings. And I'm going to touch on that a little bit in more detail a little bit longer. So what is our job? We've got to equip kids with skills to take on life. We can't just let them get out there or protect them. In other words, kids have to go into a bigger world. They're born in a cot. We've got to open up their world. They've got to deal with a playground. That playground is a jungle. I don't have to tell you. There's a lot of tough kids out there. And the more we protect kids, the more we not equipping them to take on life. We're giving them no skills. And it's already been seen by teenagers, young kids today, young teenagers, young adolescents, even at varsity. They don't have grip. There's a feeling of entitlement. They're becoming addicted to games, social media. There's been a huge spike in suicides for kids born since 2005. I think up 70% for girls and about 35% for boys. Social media, yeah. Social media, these games of Fortnite, Minecraft, kids just sit there. It keeps them quiet, but what is it doing? How are they going to ever be able to cope with life? So we've got to understand that we are educators. Parents are educators with teachers. We're equipping kids with the skills to take on life. Teachers are teaching them facts, etc., language, and so on. We've got to understand that role. And what this program does, and what it does, what makes it very different to anything else out there, it's based on a very sound philosophy and method, a phenomenological method, and it's about the only program that does it. So it helps parents understand their role. What is our role? It's vital. And we've had huge success right across the board, from ADHD kids to selected mutes to kids with ink caprices, soiling their pants, bedwetting, etc., etc. Once parents understand what their job is, it's amazing how this thing works. So what is going on there? What is really going wrong? I think one of the big problems is the fact that, and what I've observed, certainly I've been into a lot of remedial classes, a lot of remedial schools, and I've noticed that the kids in those classes are very dependent on somebody to be there to help them. They're just scared to work on their own. They don't have the confidence. So what I've observed with all the kids that I've seen that have problems, the ones whether it's behavior, whether it's been learning, and by the way, I just find it ridiculous that they're putting kids with behavior problems into a remedial class, which I think is a bit crazy. So what I observed is that kids that I've seen, and a lot of them today, parents seem to acknowledge it, they tend to only like doing what they like to do. In other words, the moment they can't do it, Mom, help me. Dad, I can't. Pick me up.
Someone's going to
Exactly. Yeah. So from an early age, we actually letting kids know that it's okay not to try. So they lack perseverance. And perseverance, you'll find, and again an observation, that kids in remedial classes not doing well at school can't persevere. They give up easy. They give up before they've even tried. Eventually they'll come home and they'll say, Mom, help me with my maths, and they haven't opened a maths book.
When you talk about that now, it sounds so obvious, but like that was what was happening with us. That learned helplessness, you know. We were trying so hard and trying so hard to solve this problem that we're actually making the situation so much worse. I mean, for example, when we went to OT, it was like, well, you know, your child's too anxious, you need to come and sit in the OT session with them. So, you know, that's kind of perpetuating the problem. Or I was trying so hard to do all their homework and help them and give. And I think that's maybe the bit of the compassionate parenting, where you're not doing it to harm, you just don't know any different. No one's telling you, because they're just exacerbating this problem. You're exacerbating this learned helplessness, like unintentionally. So it's really like a very real issue. And that's why I was like, it's so amazing, because once you gave that to me, you told me what's going on, I was able to change that. And the changes that we saw were overnight. It wasn't like, well, in 3 months' time, maybe after a long therapy, you'll start seeing the shifts in the results. It was literally then and there. So it was quite amazing to actually see that.
So what you find besides that, the fact that they tend to opt out, lack perseverance, they start avoiding challenges where they don't believe they can do it. They're scared to even try. They're giving up before they can. So without us even knowing, we're actually encouraging them to opt out. So dependency becomes the huge problem. What I observed is that dependent kids have issues. They're scared, they're dependent on mom, etc., etc. And what I've observed, there's a trend going on at the moment, especially since COVID, is that kids have had a nice time at home. It's been an extended holiday for a lot of kids, and they're going to school because they have to rather than they want to. But they don't have to listen, because when they come home from school, somebody's there to help them, whether it's mom or an au pair and whatever. So we're sort of giving them a tacit message. Don't worry about learning. Somebody's going to help you.
Yeah. I thought there was like, broken or something wrong, that I needed to fix and help. And the more I'm going to help him, the better, I'm going to be. But meanwhile, the situation was just getting worse and worse. I remember the first time I phoned you.
Yeah.
The first thing you said to me, just relax, just calm down. You're too anxious, which I was. So
dependency is a key problem, and dependent children have low self-esteem. They lack self-discipline as they get older, and we sit there doing the same old thing. And as Sarit touched on, we're encouraging helplessness. And in other words, they're learning how to be helpless without being aware of it. There's a learned helpless situation where kids are believe that they just can't do it. But one of the biggest problems that we've got today, grit is the key to success in life. It's not academia, it's not IQ, it's none of those sort of things. It's grit. Having the grit to take on life and wanting to do it. Kids lack grit. And it's all about parenting. We're the only ones that can instill grit with a child from an early age. We don't let them give up. They start a jigsaw puzzle, they've got to finish it, rather than, I can't, you help me, etc. And what we also not do, we're not teaching kids manners. I mean, kids don't say please, they don't say thank you, they want, they take, they touch, they interfere. So the boundaries we're battling with. And we're bringing these kids up believing that they're entitled to. They don't have to try, they don't have to persevere. And as a result, they're lacking grit.
Yeah.
Why is this? I think it's we've got the safety first mentality. And we just want to show you, I just want to show you a little thing that somebody sent me now. The madness of what some people are thinking in terms of dealing with kids.
Yes, I think everyone was mentioning they couldn't hear me. So yeah, this is what we want to show you. Just give me a minute.
Okay, so if you have a look at this, this is what somebody sort of put out there. They said that it's about kids, and I think maybe you can just read it. I can't see that. Okay, that's what I can see. All right, so there we can see wanting their own way, they relating that to being persistent. Clinging on to me, they're being affectionate and connected. Demanding things, they're being assertive. Not sitting still, they're being energetic and joyful. Let's just see the other one.
Sorry,
okay. Whining all day, they're communicating their needs. Being loud, they're being expressive and confident. Now, I mean, if this is the sort of message that we are giving parents, if this is the sort of message that we're letting parents know, we are in huge trouble. Where is our authority? Kids cannot grow up without an adult authority figure in their life. It must be the parents who they've got to respect. Doing all of this, we'll be sort of just running around the child and sort of pussyfooting around all their needs. What are we actually doing? We're creating a huge problem. You're being fine. Okay, so we're creating a huge problem with this new approach of compassionate parenting. And I dread what's going to happen to these children. I think if any of you saw the Social Dilemma on Netflix, it's all there. If we're not going to stop the rot now, we're in huge trouble. So at the end of the day, I think this is what we have to understand, that we've got to realize that what we're getting on doing by making children dependent, by giving in to all their needs, we're just encouraging an attitude. I mean, there are millions of kids in speech therapy. Why? Kids don't talk, they whine. We don't even notice that they whine. You know, they whine and we listen. It's not only that. I mean, a kid that's whining is going to have speech problems because they don't know how to speak properly. And the parents can easily be given advice. I mean, why so many kids in OT? How many kids?
You know, the minute there was an issue, it's like straight away to therapy, and that's your answer. And you're going to these professionals, and they're meant to have all the answers, and they're meant to know everything, because they're professional. And of course, there is a time and a place, and there is room for that. But it's such an excessive need. I know, you know, with my child, it was when I used to walk out of parents' meetings needing a tranquilizer or anti-acid. It was so stressful because I felt like the world's worst mother, because everything they were advising me and everything I was trying to do, the situation wasn't getting any better. I mean, I was told to go to play therapy, to a psychiatrist, to a physio, to an OT, and this goes on. I'm like, well, which one do I go to first? They're like, I don't know, I just go to all of them. So of course you panic because no one wants to hear this about their child. But then you go into all these therapies and they're all telling you, yes, like this is his diagnosis or her diagnosis, and this is what's going to happen. And, you know, we have got this. And you're not seeing any results. Everything's just getting worse and worse and worse. In the meantime, your child also starts believing that there's something wrong because they've been told that there's something wrong. And I think that's where you really gave me the clarity and also a bit of permission to actually parent and a confidence to parent to actually say there's actually nothing wrong here. This is what I need to do. I need to change X, Y, and Z. I mean, that's what you said to me the first time you met us. You saw my child and you were like, stop overwatering this child. You're going to like kill him. That was the analogy, because, you know, if you overwater a plant, it's going to kill the plant because you're just giving too much. And I was giving too much and getting so anxious and completely destroying this child with my good intentions. And you gave me that ability to see that, and you gave me these tools that I could literally do and change overnight. So I think what you know, the program you've put together is extremely valuable. And as well as I see it in my practice, you know, as a body talk practitioner, when I have kids coming to me and I hear the things that they've been told, like the OT said, oh no, he's not naughty, it's just he has sensory disorder, so he can't help himself. So like you giving permission to these kids just have learned helplessness or not have any grit, not any determination, because they have this label.
Yeah.
And it's scary.
So basically, what are all the therapies? It's child-centered therapy. We put all the focus on the child. Yeah. We've left the parent out of it.
Like completely. Not one
parent exactly. So what the normal trend is, a child either is distracted, not behaving, etc. Parents are called in an assessment, OT, speech, play therapy, maybe a bit of medication, etc. Parenting is never even spoken about. Now, the thing is that it becomes a real problem, because what do parents do? They become anxious. The moment you label a child, you become anxious. Now, just to give you an example, you take a little child sitting in the back of the class, quiet, scared, not socialized, never puts up his hand, not doing well. Parents are called in. Listen, your little guy's battling, he doesn't have any friends. Assessment. In the meantime, the parenting is not looked at. The odds are that he's being overprotected, etc. Take a child that comes from a home where there are no boundaries. Kids are running wild. There are no manners, nothing. The odds of them sitting still in class are not great and concentrating. Do they ever look at the parenting? Never. That doesn't make sense, especially when we're not getting the results that we're hoping to get. And this is what I'm really concerned about. And I do think it's time to make some sort of a stand. To let parents know there is an alternative to this constant therapy. I had a mom last week had spent 60,000 Rand already on their child and got nowhere. He'd been labelled oppositional defiant. And the parenting hadn't been looked at, and we sorted out the problem within a couple of days. So what we're trying to do now is actually offer parents something different, offering professionals something different. Because we have had the problem, which is unfortunate. I'm not here to clash with other professionals. I'm trying to fill a gap. There's a definite gap that we really got to concern ourselves about. And we've got to understand, what are we trying to do? What do we want from children? All we want from them is to try their best, feel good about themselves, be well socialized, act appropriately, etc. That is totally up to the parent. We need to give children meaning to their life. They're born like a burst bag of marbles. They're all over the show. They're not born with any religion. We make sure they follow our culture, our religion, our norms. We instill the models and norms. So how do we give kids a meaning to their life, a meaning to reading, for instance? And I know with my stepkids, it was quite a simple thing. We had a big jigsaw puzzle map of the world with all the major cities. And if they wanted to watch, say, a TV program like Hawaii 5.0, they had to go and look for Hawaii on the map. Go and then find out all about Hawaii so they could recognize when they watched the TV series what it is all about. They started getting more meaning out of reading than watching the TV. How many kids know, who did Walt Disney create besides Mickey Mouse? Go and look it up. You'll find out what is Pluto, dog, etc. So we've got to help kids get some meaning in reading. Sitting and reading kids' stories all day is not going to give them any meaning. So that is what our job is, to give them meaning to learning. You must remember, guys, learning is a choice. Why are kids, so many children, choosing not to learn, choosing not to read, choosing not to try the challenges of maths? Something has gone wrong. And yet, and the parents get more and more anxious. When a parent is told, listen, just do this and this, and nothing improves, a mom is going to get anxious. And yeah.
Refused to go to school. And once at school, refused to pick up a pen or do any work at all. You obviously start thinking there's something severely wrong, because that's what everyone's telling you and everyone's giving you advice about that. And, you know, that's when I saw you, and like that's what that grit and that determination that you've now taught me how to teach. And it wasn't something complicated, it was something quite really, really simple. And now to see the kind of, like, you know, the joy they get out of doing their schoolwork, and the joy they get from going to school, and it's just amazing. And the grit and the determination that they have. And it was just like a simple shift in parenting and implementing the tools. And again, obviously it's hard. And like, you know, as a mom, some days it's really hard and some days it's really hard to implement everything. But overall, it's been pretty simple. And the rewards of implementing just like everything that you've taught me has been phenomenal. It's been a total turnaround. And again, I'll say you saved us, because I don't know where I would be, you know, if we didn't find you. It's actually scary to think, because I would have gone to more and more professionals, and I feel like I would have dug my hole a little bit deeper, and I wouldn't have gotten out of the situation I was in.
Yeah, thanks for that. But what we need to understand is, let us have a look what is our job about. Remember, children, I said, can't bring themselves up. So we've got to understand that. So we have to be, we the adults, we the parents, we have to be the authority figure in their life. Not authoritarian, authoritative. There's got to be a line of respect. And you must remember, kids have no idea what life's about. They totally depend on us. They've got to trust us that we can handle any situation that arises. For instance, if a group of us have to go into the Amazon, we're totally dependent on that guide. If the guide sees something and starts panicking, that whole group falls apart. Now, if you say to your child, fine, you can play in the lounge, but be careful. And the next minute they knock the vase over and you go mad, they've got no idea what is the problem. So when we go mad and when there's chaos, children don't understand. They become insecure. Remember, they're dependent on us to handle any situation calmly. And the moment they're screaming and shouting, from my experience, I reckon about, just giving a percentage, but I'd say 80-90% of homes, they're screaming and shouting, taking huge strain all around. The kids are going to become insecure. They have no idea what your problem was. It's no use saying, now, mommy works very hard, she's tired, you've got to respect her, I give you so much. Those sort of things, they don't
just in case we do get cut off, because it's not end soon, just click on the same Zoom link. I know lots of people are saying you can't hear me, so I've moved the computer closer. I hope that you can hear me now.
Okay,
I hope so.
I hope they can hear me.
Yeah, I think I can hear you.
Okay. Right, so basically what I'm trying to say is, in a relatively short space of time, help us understand that this is not about trying to reinvent the wheel at all. It's trying to address a genuine problem, because it is a worldwide problem. There's a lot of people that have realized, professionals, that parenting is a problem, but nobody knows. They're thumb-sucking a little bit. But this, funny enough, this whole approach, it was developed at the University of Pretoria, funny enough, over 30 years, and it's totally unique. And that's what makes it amazing, because the majority of therapy with kids or with parents, or workshops with parents, based on cognitive behavior therapy, which is trying to help parents deal with the child's behavior. What we're trying to do here is help parents understand that it's the way we parent that creates all the problems. From the ADHD right through. And often when moms say to me, they can't believe the training their kid. I say, no, kid never changed, you changed.
100%.
Yeah, and I think, and that's what we're trying to help you understand. So what is the program really about briefly? What you've got to understand is that kids are totally dependent on us. As I said, they've got to feel safe, and we've got to know how to give them choices. Now, it's quite amazing how we haven't learned. Society can't function without preempted rules and consequences. For instance, we know that to speak on we know that if we speak on a cell phone, ultimately, we might get away with a bribe, but it's 500 rand. Imagine if we never had an idea what the consequences were. We see a friend get off with a bribe, we try our luck, we put in jail for 30 years. How could society function? So, but we don't parent like that. We react. And the moment we react, there's chaos. And that is one of the problems that we've got. So in other words, how do you give, everybody talks about choice, but how?
And then just about that reaction of how important that is. I know when I'm trying to get the kids to do homework, I'm like, if I start getting anxious and making it my problem in terms of like, oh, no, they're not going to do their homework, and then they're going to like fall behind and all those worries, I start making it my issue. But if I calm down, as Ken always tells me to, and really calm down and just think it's actually their choice, their decision. And, and then I'm able to say it more calmly, like then I get the results that that they actually sit down and do their homework, because it's all about their choice, what they're choosing.
I'd like to give an example, especially the preempting. It's very important to get a child's buy-in. Remember, I've been very fortunate. I brought up 3 stepkids, twins are 3 at the time, a little boy is 6. And it's quite amazing. We had no sibling rivalry, we had no shouting. The kids, it's just been an amazing journey to experience this on my own. But to give an example of choice, we had a rule, for instance, that if anybody deleted a movie that I've recorded, meant that they didn't want to watch TV for a week. Anyway, one day a movie was deleted. It happened to be Erica, one of the twins. I said to her, Erica, I don't believe you don't want to watch TV for a week. She said, why? I said, well, you deleted the movie. She accepted it. But after a few days, she came to me and she said, Ken, when can I watch TV again? I said, X, you could have watched at any time. But the moment you deleted my movie, you said to me, you don't want to watch it for a week. So it's a week. She accepted it. There was no problem. And we're not doing that. We've got to understand you must get their buy-in. You need to preempt, where kids have to understand consequences beforehand. Mom, may I have a yogurt, please? Sure. What are the rules? Well, finish the yogurt, clean up the mess, and throw the little bucky away. If you don't, this means no TV tonight, or work on a pocket money system. It's going to cost you 10 rand. Something like that. Then ask them what they're going to do. They'll make the right choice. Brushing their teeth.